How's it going, everybody? Gaming with Guinness back. More Destiny 2 content. So today we're going to talk about the Descendant Triumph Seal. With the final challenge being released today, it is now officially obtainable in the game. And I just wanted to talk about it with you guys. My feedback, just what I think about it. So in my opinion, this is probably like the saddest excuse of a raid title I've seen in a while. Like, the raid is great. They nailed the raid. I love to do this raid. Like, I can do this over and over again all day. But the Triumph Seal itself, like, when you compare this to other raid Triumph Seals, such as the original three, Last Wish, Scourge of the Past, and Shadow. Scourge of the Past and Shadow obviously had, like, their seasonal stuff tied to them, but they were also somewhat raid Triumph Seals. And it's just like it takes away half the stuff that made the raid Triumph Seal. Like, sure, those raids were easy and they had the seasonal objectives to help them, but we'll just go off of Last Wish as the main example. Last Wish came out and it had a ton of things to do for the raid. Like, you had your challenges for each encounter. You had to even flawless the raid, which the past two have been missing. In my opinion, is also quite upsetting. Like, for Last Wish, you obviously had to complete the raid, you had to finish the badge, you had to do it in a fire team made of the elemental subclasses and of each specific challenge. And then you had, your other stuff, like, for some reason, place 5 raid banners, make 10 wishes, all that stuff, even clan night, all that. And then, then they changed it up a little bit for Garden. With Garden, originally required Flawless, which I don't know why they got rid of that. And then it required its 4 challenges. But on top of those 4 challenges, it required 4 alternative challenges that weren't the full challenge. Like, it was something else that you had to do, but it did not give you any extra rewards other than the Triumph. Which those were one of the things that made that raid Triumph Seal, like, special to me as well, because not only did it require you to flawless the raid, but those challenges were actually somewhat difficult. Like, you couldn't guess what they were. You had to, like, watch a guide on it, and even when you watched the guide on it, half the time you have to run it over and over and over again because it was difficult, which I feel like that's what raid Triumph Seals need. They need to be difficult, like, show like the best of the best people doing these raids can obtain it, not necessarily anybody who just casually does the raid. So then, if we start off with current day raid Triumph Seal, this is the first raid in a while, the raid is amazing, but the raid Triumph Seal, in my opinion, is just lacking. Like, it had the usual stuff: clan night, complete the raid, collections badge, all that. Which a lot of people are having trouble getting Eyes of Tomorrow, but then again, that happens almost every year, other than Garden with Divinity. So then, you have your Sparrow Triumph, where you bring all the pikes to the bubble, which I thought that was creative. Personally, I actually liked that one, despite the fact that I don't do it much. Then you have your, loot your chests, all that good stuff. You got your challenges, which I'll get to a bit later. And then some other things, where your side challenges, really, but they're not too bad. Like, most of them are just quite simple. Like, because it also has the 4 alternative challenges, but I feel like I've accidentally got some of these done. Like, the Ready, Set, Go is basically 4 orb. The Short Circuit, I'm going Tanix to beginning. The Short Circuit's pretty easy. You just have one person take each core and deposit it. Then 5 seconds to Paradise, just do a countdown, have each member kill a servitor, or Out of Bounds and kill before anything really happens. And then for Resource Connection, it's what most people do. Just have only one of each, one person do each job, and that's it. So they were already pretty simple. So then, I was looking forward to the raid challenges. Red Rover comes out. In my opinion, that's probably the hardest challenge out of the 4. Like, not because it's remotely difficult, but it requires the whole team to sort of do the jobs. Like, it's not one person doing everything or one person doing operator. It requires the back and forth swapping, and it made the encounter take longer, but I feel like challenges should do something to make it more difficult, not necessarily make it so like, hey, I run into the raid, take 5 seconds and get this challenge done. So then on to copies of copies, where you have to you can't shoot off or get rid of the replications, that one's just easy. 90% of the teams nowadays one phase, and if you one phase, all you need to do is just shoot the copies off people's heads just over and over again, but never get rid of them. Like, the challenge is basically free. There's no challenge to it. It's just going out of your way to make sure that you don't cleanse instead of cleansing. Sometimes it's even simpler because you don't have to go out of your way to cleanse. You just shoot it off them and they pick it back up. Easy as that. So I already feel like that challenge, So then what was the of all trades challenge? The of all trades challenge is clever in my opinion, but it's just easy. Like, all 3 jobs really for this raid are just not too mechanically challenging, so just pulling out the chart that most people reference and going off of that just made it easy. Like, it wasn't like something that you just couldn't just run around. You can't just run around and get it done instantly. And I do like how it made all members of the fire team participate rather than just a few. But it was still simple. Like, I remember getting it done first try with teams that had no clue what in the world they were doing. Because you just go off of a chart, remember your order, and then that's it. Then on to the last challenge, which came out today. The Core 4, in my opinion, got to be the most difficult out of all 4. It's like, you guys won't even understand how to do this. It took me and my team hours to complete. No, I'm kidding. It's literally just 4 orb strat. It's basically the equivalent to like King's Falls challenge. The strategy is the challenge. Like, we all figured out this challenge. We all knew this would be the challenge way before. And it made it more efficient with that extra damage phase, which is why people used it, especially in speedruns and everything. So it was just like, this challenge was, in my opinion, easier than doing the boss regularly, because doing the 2 orbs makes it where harder to one phase and over prolongs it, adding in less leeway for said fire team. So I just feel like in general this raid Triumph Seal compared to the others just can't even compete. Like, it doesn't necessarily feel like it has a place to me. Like, they're definitely, I feel like Conqueror in a sense is more difficult than this, and that's for strikes. But then again, those are Grandmasters, so that's a whole different story. But I generally feel like with this raid, they've done an excellent job with the raid, but the raid Triumph Seal is just not it. Especially with the removal of the flawless. Like, needing to flawless the raid for the Triumph Seal was by far like the highlight of raid Triumph Seals for a lot of people. Like, yeah, I got this Triumph Seal. I did the raid without any deaths. Like, it's not like it's the most complicated thing, but it's definitely not something that you can just be like, okay, let me just casually run the raid and get. You know? Like, people actually worked for that. And especially for the people, like, Garden was even worse when it scammed you out of it. Like, some people, including myself, got the flawless before they removed it from the requirements. And then now people can just get that for not even having to go flawless. But not go flawless, like, not like trials, but, you know, flawless the raid. In my opinion, it's just a dumb concept where you should have to flawless the raid. It just doesn't make sense to me as to why they would remove it. But yet, here we are. Anyways, those are really my thoughts on the Triumph Seal in general. Like, I feel like they could have done a better job. I got mine today, and I will be rocking it for 24 hours and probably never to use it again. Because with the Triumph Seals, you want them to be impressive. Like, it's something to show off. Like, what would make me want to use this Triumph Seal over another one? Other than the fact that it's new. Like, because the only reason I'm using it right now is because, like, oh, new Triumph Seal. Nice. But other than that, I see no real purpose in running this seal. Like, in my opinion, if you got any other raid Triumph Seal, it's more impressive. Like, Riven's Bane, Blacksmith, Shadow, Enlightened, all 4 of those are probably, in the long run, going to be more impressive than Descendant. But everybody has their own opinions on Triumph Seals. If you think the Triumph Seal is cool, then for sure, go for it. Rock it. I mean, it's just kind of like the dredging of raid Triumph Seals. You know, in my opinion, they should have at least added something difficult, or like just something that would stop most players from getting the seal, rather than making it free to everybody, in a sense. Like, at this point, you could easily just casually run. You could have been casually running the raid with LFGs for the past few weeks, and look at you. You've got the Triumph Seal. Not saying that it's not an achievement or anything. Like, definitely, it's still a Triumph Seal. But I feel like it could have been more. They could have done more with it. But, as I was saying, that's just my opinions on the Triumph Seal. If you guys want to let me know what you think of the Triumph Seal, just feel free to comment, and I will be checking. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.